Hello everyone, it's Mr. Wolf here, and in this video I am going to be discussing video modeling scenario number 4, where a neutral person standing on the ground is going to touch a negatively charged Van de Graaff generator, and the question is, what's going to happen to this person's hair? Alright, so let's first talk about our objects. Alright, we have a conductor. Our Van de Graaff generator is a conductor, which means electrons can move freely throughout the entire object. My Van de Graaff generator is charged negatively, which means it has more electrons than protons. All right, specifically, it has a charge of -7, which means I have 7 extra electrons compared to protons in my model. Now, since this object is a conductor, notice that my charge is distributed evenly on my object. All right, then I have a person, and you are a conductor. Right? Electrons could travel through you. That's why you could get electrocuted. And the person is standing on the ground. And the ground, its mass compared to the Van de Graaff generator is just so much bigger. So we could say that it's an infinite supply of electrons. Right? And since the person is standing directly on the ground, we can almost treat the person as kind of part of the ground as well in this case. Right? Almost kind of like a connector. All right. And our ground is neutrally charged. So the person is going to touch our Van de Graaff generator, and we want to ask our question, which way do electrons want to move? Right? And all these extra electrons on my Van de Graaff generator, they are repelled from one another. They want to get away from each other, and all of a sudden, they have a road to actually get away from each other. So they're going to jump over to the person. Right? Now, the electrons in my Van de Graaff generator, the electrons in my person, again, are still repelled from one another. So they're going to try to get as far away from each other as possible. So all these extra electrons are going from my Van de Graaff generator, are going to jump to my person, and then there's still extra electrons in my person, and they're going to travel to the ground at the end of the day. All right, so all of my electrons have left my Van de Graaff generator, so my Van de Graaff generator ends up becoming neutral. So circle all these protons that have equal amounts of electrons next to them. All right. Remember, electrons did jump over to the person, but they were also, just like the Van de Graaff generator, extra electrons on the person, so they end up just traveling to the ground. Now, even though the ground did get these extra electrons right here, right, we could, again, treat it as almost this infinite supply of electrons just because it's such a bigger object. So even though it gained these extra electrons from my Van de Graaff in person, these extra electrons are just kind of like a drop of water in a lake compared to how many protons and electrons it originally has. So the charge on my grounded person is going to be neutral. All objects end up neutral in this case. Right? So then, if I ask the question, what's this person's hair going to do? Right? Well, if the person's hair is neutral, well, those hairs are neither attracted nor repelled from each other, so that hair is just going to continue doing what it was already doing. It's just going to stay down.